Some 2,000 American troops have been told to prepare for deployment to the Middle East in response to the Israel-Hamas war. According to NBC News, the service members have been put on a 24-hour prepare-to-deploy status. A defense official told NBC if deployed to the region, the troops would be sent to a nearby country to potentially assist Israel in a non-combat capacity. Joining us now here in studio, retired Army four-star General David Petraeus. He worked closely, of course, with Presidents George W. Bush and Barack Obama as commander of the surge in Iraq and the International Security Assistance Force in Afghanistan. He also was CIA director under President Obama. General Petraeus is co-author of the new book titled Conflict: The Evolution of Warfare from 1945 to Ukraine. General Petraeus, good morning. It's great to have you here. Sadly, this book is perpetually relevant and never more so than right now. So you're the perfect man to have sitting here as someone who helped our country respond to a terrorist attack. How would you be going about this if you were talking to the IDF, you were talking to Prime Minister Netanyahu, if you were advising President Biden? This is a very difficult task, is it not?
It is. It's fiendishly difficult. In fact, it's hard to imagine. My great co-author, the great Baron Roberts of Belgravia, Andrew Roberts, and I sat down the other day, and we can't think of a time that you saw a more difficult mission for a military organization than what they face going into Gaza. Again, if you really destroy Hamas, you have to go into every building. These are high rises, clear every floor, every room, every cellar, every tunnel, and there's a huge tunnel system. There'll be improvised explosive devices, suicide bombers, all of this. And the real issue, I think, is not just that, it's then what? And I'm sure, I am very confident, I know the IDF leadership very well, respect them highly, and I'm sure they're sitting down with the Prime Minister and now their former IDF Chief of Staff, Benny Gantz, who's joined the coalition, and asking, okay, after we clear and hold these areas, then what? And I think, so again, it's the issue that, vengeance is not enough. It's also, what are the other components of a comprehensive approach? What Richard Haass rightly was emphasizing, the need for, what are you doing the day after? What's the vision for the Palestinians in Gaza after you remove or severely damage Hamas? And I don't think you can leave them there. If they are left in charge after they pull out, they'll just come back.
Well,
so,
yeah, I was going to ask you that. Prime Minister Netanyahu said the mission is to completely destroy Hamas, destroy their capability to do again what they did on October 7th, and that every member of Hamas is, quote, a dead man. Is that the right objective to begin with? And then obviously what comes next is maybe even the harder question.
What comes next is even harder, but this would be a very, very substantial task. Keep in mind that it took the Iraqi security forces, supported by the Americans and a coalition, 9 months to clear a city that's roughly the size of Gaza City, Mosul in northern Iraq, where I was as a two-star in the first year. So the challenges just of the tactical mission are very, very substantial. But the bigger issue is, what is the strategy? Again, once they have, I remember taking the 101st Airborne Division, we took the first large city during the fight to Baghdad. And I called my boss and I said, hey, good news and bad news. The good news is we own Najaf. He asked, what's the bad news? I said, we own Najaf. What do you want us to do with it? And so there needs to be, what do you want to do with Gaza City and really the entire territory? And what is the vision for the Palestinians there? Can you tell them about, you're going to focus on improving their lives, and not just there, but also in the West Bank? This has to be a moment. This is so terrible, so horrific, so barbaric, unspeakable. There has to be something good that comes out of this, and it could be in the vision for the future that really does mitigate the risks of this happening again.
And Joe, General Petraeus obviously knows of what he speaks, as he writes about in the book, having responded on behalf of the American people to 9/11, but also the pitfalls of that in terms of going into Iraq.
Right. Well, General Petraeus, it's so great to have you with us here today. I want to talk to you right now as a former CIA director and borrow on John Kennedy when he was a young senator. He, of course, wrote the famous book, Why England Slept. Based on everything that you've gathered, the information you've gathered since last Saturday morning, let me ask you the question about Israel. Why did Israel sleep?
Well, they were distracted in part. It was also a religious day, and a particularly important one. The Hamas operational security obviously increased dramatically. They presumably knew the sources and methods that Shin Bet, in particular the Internal Security Service, because this is internal Gaza and the West Bank that they employed. And they even fed disinformation reportedly to them. And then they very creatively took out the nodes that connected the surveillance system along this very extensive fence so that they were able to mobilize these forces and get through before the Israeli Defense Forces even knew what was going on. So a number of different factors, as always. There's usually never a single reason for something happening that is as significant as this. But obviously a colossal intelligence failure and also a colossal military readiness failure as well.
You talk about in the book about the big idea. You have to have the big idea. And then you have to communicate that big idea effectively. Throughout the process, you have to refine that big idea. I want to ask you, looking through that prism, which worked so effectively for you in Iraq, what is the big idea right now if you are Netanyahu, if you're the coalition government? What's the big idea right now?
Well, getting the big ideas right is the key to strategic leadership, and we lay that out in the introduction. In fact, we went back and rewrote that to emphasize how important that is. And in this case, I think the initial big idea is, again, to seek vengeance, to destroy Hamas, again, to uproot it completely. But then beyond that, what is the rest of the big idea? As I mentioned earlier, there has to be more than just the military component. It should be a comprehensive approach that lays out all aspects of what is the future going to be for the Palestinian people in Gaza. And also, while they're at it, let's talk about the future of the Palestinian people in the West Bank as well. Very uncomfortable politically, obviously, within Israel, but let's hope that this is a kind of catalyst, again, a horrific catalyst that can prompt that thinking. And I suspect that that's among the discussion topics, perhaps the most important discussion topic between our president and Prime Minister Netanyahu, and then with the Arab leaders with whom he'll meet in Amman, Jordan as well.
General, the subtitle of your book, Conflict, is The Evolution of Warfare from 1945 to Ukraine. Each war that we have been engaged with or on the edge of has always involved a real political component. What do we do today about the dilemma that our principal ally in the Middle East, perhaps our only ally, true ally in the Middle East, Israel, is a country that's kind of unique in that it gets attacked for defending itself?
Well, again, we've got to sit down with them, go back through how did this happen. There will be endless postmortems without question. And then identify what needs to be done in the future to mitigate the risk, but also to get at the root causes of all of this as well. Again, that's, I think, the big point that those from Washington are going to discuss in Jerusalem and then also in Amman, Jordan. It has to be more than just the military. It's often said there is no military solution to this problem. Well, actually, sometimes that's not correct. Our adversaries find a military solution to a problem. In this case, the military solution is part of the overall solution, but the question is, what are the other components of that? Again, this can't be where you get to Baghdad and, we say, again, good news and bad news. The bad news is we own Iraq. What do you want us to do with it? Mm-hmm. And we haven't thought through the post-conflict phase, the so-called phase 4 operations, which in that case were shown to be inadequate as well.